they wash the feet of others 365 days a year. Let's give them a big round of applause. What we're doing out here today is a special Meals with Meaning Grab and Go giveaway. We have a commitment with HelloFresh, Pratt Industries, and Second Helpings Atlanta to do this every week. We're giving away 8,000 meals a week, but today is Tuesday. We're doing this for Thanksgiving. What we're doing is doing a special box full of all of the produce, all the vegetation you need to go with a turkey. So we're supplying a turkey, vegetables, mashed potatoes, greens, everything you need to make a Thanksgiving dinner, plus the instructions today. We're really excited because we're here at the Second Helpings Atlanta headquarters, and they do this every day. They divert over 3 million pounds of food a year out of landfills to help to fight food disparity in our community. And so we're glad to partner with them. And as you see, the turnout is tremendous.
Out here today at Victory Outreach Church. Great church in my community. I'm in partnership with Victory, New Calvary Baptist Church, and Tyler Perry Studios for a Thanksgiving giveaway for my District 12 in my community. We're out here giving away food, all kind of vegetables, turkeys, right before Thanksgiving to give thanks for the folks in my district. I want to give a special thanks to Tyler Perry. Actually, he donated most of his food today, and we've been having an array of volunteers. This church that's in my community is also beautiful in terms of their volunteerism and what they do for our community. So I'm happy to be out here today just celebrating and giving thanks on Thanksgiving.
We're here today for a job fair. We want to be able to connect people up with jobs. There are a lot of companies that need people. They're paying over $15 an hour. And so we're here at West Hunter Street Baptist Church. We have Amazon here. They're very anxious to hire employees. We have UPS that's here. We also have some food service companies that are here. We have some City of Atlanta departments such as corrections. Also, we have the Atlanta Fire Department. So if people are looking for new careers or if people want to change careers, this is a wonderful opportunity for them to come out and to talk and find out how they can really make more money. So we're talking about jobs that are over $15 an hour, and I think that's real important. As people are starting to come off of the stimulus government, those government checks, they'll probably be ending in December of this year. They're going to need to be able to find jobs. And a lot of times the best way to find a job is to be face to face with that employer. That's an opportunity for a potential employee to really kind of convince that employer, I really want to work. I really want to have an opportunity to get a new career started. and I believe that I'm the person for you. So we're just very happy to be here in the West End community to be able to provide these jobs to people who are very interested.
Well, I'm out here today at Victory Outreach Church. Great church in my community. I'm in partnership with Victory, New Calvary Baptist Church, and Tyler Perry Studios for a Thanksgiving giveaway for my District 12 in my community. We're out here giving away food, all kind of vegetables, turkeys, right before Thanksgiving to give thanks for the folks in my district. I want to give a special thanks to Tyler Perry. Actually, he donated most of his food today, and we've been having an array of volunteers. This church that's in my community is also beautiful in terms of their volunteerism and what they do for our community. So I'm happy to be out here today just celebrating and giving thanks on Thanksgiving.
They wash the feet of others 365 days a year. Let's give them a big round of applause. What we're doing out here today is a special Meals with Meaning Grab and Go giveaway. We have a commitment with HelloFresh, Pratt Industries, and Second Helpings Atlanta to do this every week. We're giving away 8,000 meals a week, but today is Tuesday. We're doing this for Thanksgiving. What we're doing is doing a special box full of all of the produce, all the vegetation you need to go with a turkey. So we're supplying a turkey, vegetables, mashed potatoes, greens, everything you need to make a Thanksgiving dinner, plus the instructions today. We're really excited because we're here at the Second Helpings Atlanta headquarters, and they do this every day. They divert over 3 million pounds of
Committee. I want to welcome everyone to this November 29th, Monday, November 29th meeting of the Zoning Committee. It is our last committee meeting of the year, and perhaps contrary to the previous meetings this year, this one will be perhaps a tad longer, a little more substantive. We have a longer agenda than normal as a number of items have come to us today. Before we get started with the substance of the meeting, I'd like to ask Ms. Lindo to please do a roll call and thank everyone for joining us, whether you're calling in as a council member or you're viewing online as a member of the public. Ms. Lindo.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and everyone. We have Council Member Carla Smith. Here. Council Member Andrea L. Boone. Ms. Boone. Councilmember Cleta Winslow.
Present.
Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet.
Present.
Councilmember Andrea Dickens. Councilmember Andrea Boone. Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum of members present. We also have with us Ms. Kieto Holmes, the Director of the Office of Zoning and Development.
And I think you may have forgotten the esteemed Councilmember Howard Shook.
Oh, yes, my apologies. Councilmember Shook.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am present.
Great. Thank you for everyone for your attendance. I know the end of the year gets a bit hectic, and appreciate everyone being here. Ms. Lindo, could you please now read our remote meeting statement?
Yes, good morning. Today's Zoning Committee meeting will be conducted remotely as advertised and in accordance with Georgia Code Section 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting conference bridge toll-free by dialing 404-902-5066 and entering conference ID number 151945. This information was also provided on the Wednesday, November 24th, 2021 public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, the Council's homepage at citycouncil.atlanta.ga.gov, Facebook and Twitter pages of ATL Council, and the Council's YouTube channel. Today's meeting agenda was also published and made available on Wednesday, November 24th via the city's website at atlantacitygA.iqm2.com. In addition, the public is able to submit comments unrelated to zoning items that have or will go before the Zoning Review Board via voicemail at 404-330-6035 yesterday between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. These comments will be played during the public comment portion of this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference bridge are requested to please mute your phones and speakers. Meeting participants wishing to speak must be acknowledged by the committee chair. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
Thank you, Ms. Lindo. Our first item, first voting item is the adoption of the agenda. I will move to adopt the agenda. Could I get a second?
Overstreet, second.
I'm going to give the second to Ms. Overstreet since she seems to be not on the system. So motion Faroki, second Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I've requested help with signing in. Just FYI.
And Ms. Boone, I know you were on hold. If you're with us, just go ahead and voice vote or let us know you're here.
I am on the system, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. The meeting agenda has been adopted.
Great. Our next item is item number E, approval of the minutes. I will move to approve the meeting minutes. Can I get a second?
Second, Overstreet.
We'll give that one to Ms. Winslow. Second by Winslow. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair.
And Ms. Overstreet, if you don't mind just voice voting, go ahead.
Affirmative.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. The meeting minutes have been approved.
Excellent. So we will now move to public comments. I believe we have one today. I'll turn it over to Ms. Lindo to lead us into that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder that no public comments are allowed on legislative items that have gone before or will go before the Zoning Review Board. One moment, Mr. Chair.
Greetings, committee council members and staff. A special greeting to you citizens and voters of Atlanta, keeping an eye on our government and how we the advocates, public policy analysts. 2775 Capitol Road, an address making news in Southwest Atlanta. At the City Council meeting of November 15th, a score or more residents, stakeholders, and their supporters had the recorded concerns aired regarding a gas station to be built at 2775 Campbellton Road. Reportedly, the proposed gas station is in compliance with the district restrictions by a margin of 500 feet. A properly completed special administrative permit is reportedly on file with city planning. The site is located within Council District 11 and Post 3 at large. Reacting to the speakers, the District 11 council member gave the longest response to public comment in recent public comment history. not so supposed to be at large council members. Curiously, joining the chorus against more gas stations were Corliss Clare, Antonina Robinson, Annette L. Scott, Ricardo Jacobs, and their crew. They had not come to the public microphone in city council since their successful attempt years ago to take over neighborhood plan unit R and their unsuccessful attempt to take over the Alcott Home Golf Course. Stay tuned on this one, folks.
That concludes the public comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Lindo. Our next section of the agenda is section G, ordinances for second reading. We have 29 items today. A good number of them will be taken as a block. We'll have a couple that will generate a conversation and perhaps debate amongst us. So let's go ahead and dive in. I will turn it over to Ms. Kata Holmes, who leads the zoning office at the city, to lead us through items number 1 through 4, which I believe will be taken as a block.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. Item number 1, 20-1225, Z-2019, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from heavy industrial conditional beltline overlay to mixed residential commercial beltline overlay for property located at 99 University Avenue. Staff and ZRB recommendation approval and Pew recommendation denial. Item number 2, 21-0613, Z-2169, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from Mechanicsville Neighborhood Special Public Interest District Subarea 4 to Mechanicsville Neighborhood Special Public Interest District Subarea 1 for property located at 509 Friar Street. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation approval. Item number 3, 21-0731, Z-2188, an ordinance by zoning committee designating the Smith Farm located at 130 West Paces Ferry Road Northeast, land lot 99, to the single family residential landmark building or site. Staff, NPU, and ZRB recommendation approval. Item number 4, 21-0734, U-2121, an ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for non-residential uses for establishments exceeding 7,500 square feet located at 1055, also known as 1041 Howell Mill Road. Staff, NPU, and ZRB recommendation approval. Mr. Chair.
I was muted. Apologies. I move to approve. Can I get a second?
Winslow, second.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Motion by Faroki, second by Winslow. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Ms. Overstreet?
I'm on the system. I voted affirmative.
Thank you. Ms. Boone?
Yes. Boone, yes.
Thank you. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Those items are favorable.
Mr. Chair, if I could take items number 5, 7 through 13, and 16 together.
Yes, please do.
Item number 5, 21-0153, Z-2109, an amended ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from heavy industrial and heavy industrial conditional to planned development mixed use for property located at 285 and 01st Street Northeast. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation approval. Item number 7, 21-0612, Z-2168, an amended ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from Mechanicsville Neighborhood Special Public Interest District Subarea 4 and Subarea 6 to Mechanicsville Neighborhood Special Public Interest District Subarea 3. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation approval. Item number 8, 21-0706, Z-2197, an ordinance by Councilmember Carla Smith as amended by zoning committee to rezone certain properties in the Boulevard Heights neighborhood from single family residential and community business district Beltline overlay to single family residential conditional and commercial business district Beltline overlay. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation approval. Item number 9, 210730, D2187, an amended ordinance by zoning committee designating the Ormwood Avenue Bridge located at 834 and 831 Ormwood Avenue to the single family residential conditional Beltline overlay landmark building or site. Staff and DRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval. Item number 10, 210735, U2123, an amended ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for a preschool pursuant to 16060051B for property located at 1088 Boulder Crest Drive. Staff and DRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval. Item number 11, 210763, Z21110, an ordinance by Council Member Carla Smith as amended by zoning committee to rezone certain properties within the Summerhill neighborhood from single family residential conditional to single family residential conditional. Staff and DRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval. Item number 12, 210784, D2191, an amended ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from mixed residential commercial conditional to mixed residential commercial conditional for a major site plan amendment for property located at 480 17th Street. Staff and DRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval. Item number 13, 210905, U2128, an amended ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for non-residential uses or establishments exceeding 7,500 square feet, pursuant to 1640-0034A for property located at 1000 Marietta Street. Staff recommendation and DRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval. And item number 16, 210892, Z2090, an amended ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single family residential to single family residential conditional for property located at 670, 668, 672, 672 lot 13, 678, parcel ID 140024, land lot 0418. 1149 Lanisha, 1155 Lanisha, 1159, 1165, 1174, 1175, 1180, 1183, and 1181 Morley Avenue. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation approval conditional.
Okay, I will move to approve. Can I get a second? Would any colleagues like to second the motion to approve for those items?
Second, Winslow.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Those items are favorable.
Item number 6, 210500, U2117, an amended ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for a park for hire facility pursuant to 1632-0071I for property located at 495 Hodge Avenue. Staff and NPU recommendation denial, DRB recommendation approval conditional, and the recommendation is to adverse, sir.
Thank you. I will motion to adverse. Can I get a second?
Second. Which one is this one? I'm sorry.
This is item number 6, Ms. Winslow. It's regarding a proposed park for hire facility in District 5.
Okay, I'll second that.
Thank you. So, second by Winslow. Please open the vote to adverse.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. The vote is closed. At 6 yeas, 0 nays, that item will be adversed.
Oh, I was just getting ready to say, I don't see adverse on here. Oh, there we go. All right, thanks.
Mr. Chair, with the item number 14. Item 14, 210035, Z2084, a substitute ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single-family residential to planned development housing for property located at 480 South Evelyn Place rear. Staff ZRB recommendation approval conditional, NPU recommendation approval.
Great, I'll move to approve as articulated. Can I get a second?
Second, Winslow.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
A moment. The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item favorable on substitute.
Item number 15, 21-00456, D2174, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir R. Faroki, as substituted by Zoning Committee to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Atlanta, Part 16, by amending various provisions of the text of the zoning ordinance, including individual zoning district regulations with regard to the subject areas and provisions that follow: multifamily residential, multi-unit, zoning district and regulations, minimum parking requirements, accessory dwellings, and to promote a diversity of housing options and increase housing affordability, and for other purposes. Staff of ZRB recommendation approval of the substitute, NPU recommendation denial.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. This is my paper. I will move to hold it. We'll take it up again via reintroduction in January, but I'll motion to hold. Can I get a second?
Boone, second.
Thank you, Ms. Boone. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote to hold.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry. I apologize. There's a colleague of ours who would like to speak. I believe it is Mr. Shook. Mr. Shook, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I think this has about been vetted into a state of exhaustion. And I've just always believed that when the public has hashed something out to this level, and council has as well, and I suspect all council members at this point know how they're going to vote. So I don't see what the benefit of a hold is. In fact, I think it'll just sort of continue to frayed communal fabric. And so I'm going to make a substitute motion to file.
Second, Winslow.
So there's before we open the vote on that substitute motion to file, I will speak in opposition to it. Now, this is a process that started 6 months ago, introduced this legislation. It's worked its way through the MPUs. You know, some folks say it's gone too long, like Mr. Shook has said. Other folks say it hasn't gone long enough. But ultimately, I think this needs to be moved to next month, simply because I think there's a number of council members who, frankly, I don't think know how they're going to vote on it, despite a lot of conversation and debate on it the last few months. And I've heard from some who say they'd like to spend more time with it. So I would ask colleagues to reject the motion to file and let us hold it, and we'll take it up as a council in January.
So let me speak. If I'd like to speak to my second to adverse or to file, whichever.
Please do.
Yeah. So a lot of neighborhoods have a lot of angst about this. I have a number of historic districts that are, Castleberry Hill, West End. I used to have Adair Park. All of these neighborhoods in Oakland City had issues with I shouldn't say non-conforming structures, because they were houses, but they were not built in the same style as the historic houses. And so that's why people did a lot of came in and said, okay, we want our neighborhood to be a historic district. And I'm hoping, I think we've got a real good process with neighbors and with citizens who really vet this out with developers. I mean, I was on that side of the aisle many years ago when I was a neighborhood person. And a lot of times neighborhoods see things that we don't see as elected officials. And they know their neighborhoods like they know the back of their hand. And I don't think they do anything to hurt developers. I think they do things to intentionally make developers be more sensitive to the neighborhood and to the type of housing that neighbors want to see in the community. And so there has been a lot of gathering of information, you know, along major corridors, like in my district, Lee Street, Ralph David Abernathy, where people have an opportunity to put up the type of structures that are probably similar in this paper without being intrusive within the community itself and single-family homes. I would hate for us to become, and this has been 30 years ago when I was in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas had everything. They had a single-family house. Then next door they had a multifamily. Then next door they had a triplex. Then they had something else. So they didn't really have any uniform zoning. And so we have that in the city of Atlanta. And I think it's good that we want to put affordable housing in. And we've got some of that that's coming in. In the district I represent, we've got the land trusts that have come in, and they're going to be successful. And I think those that, and there's multifamily that's going to be around single families. But it's something that was worked out with the neighborhoods. And so this legislation would just allow for the developers to come in and just put in what they wanted without having the sensitivity to the community. And so I'm just not for that. And I've gotten a lot of calls from people in the district that I represent, and they want affordable housing, but they don't like the legislation. They want to have some controls on it, and I'm in agreement with them on that.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. I will just take a moment to clarify. I think you may not have read the legislation. The legislation is proposed, and it includes significant amendments based on neighborhood feedback from across the city, but nothing in the legislation that frankly is not even before us. But we have an initial motion to hold and then Councilmember Shook's motion to file, but nothing in that legislation allows any developer to come in and do anything they want willy-nilly. There's the MRMU piece was removed a long time ago. That's separate from what's before us. The legislation as described does three things. It redefines what MRMU is to 1 to 4 units, but it doesn't change anyone's zoning to that. It still would have to go through kind of parcel by parcel zoning as we see happen now. It would remove parking requirements for residential developments, which doesn't mean there won't be any parking built, but that the market would determine how much parking needs to be built versus the city mandating it. And it would allow for attached accessory dwelling units, so basement apartments, carriage house apartments, in addition to detached accessory dwelling units, which are already permitted in most of R4 and R5 neighborhoods. And that piece is restricted to R4 and R5 and does not include almost the entirety of Buckhead. So I want to make clear that the legislation that has worked its way through the MPU system has made its way back to us here at Council does not include any proactive rezoning that's before us. And so I want to make that clear. I think you're buying a little bit to the hysteria that we see from neighborhood groups. And I'll also note, this may be a bit contentious of a comment, but as much as you say that neighborhoods know their neighborhoods like the back of their hand, and that may be true, the folks that turn out to neighborhood meetings and MPUs are almost entirely single-family homeowners, and we represent a whole set of residents in addition to them. And those opinions are entirely valid, and they're important to listen to, and I think we all listen to them and take them into account. Sometimes we follow it, sometimes we don't. That's why they're advisory. But there's a whole set of residents in the city, whether they're condo owners, whether they're townhome owners, whether they're renters, or whether they work 2 jobs, they can't make an MPU meeting, or they've got young kids and have to put them to bed. There's all these factors that determine why people show up to meetings. And I think it's incumbent on us to take that into account when we think about neighborhood voices and how we make our decisions. And that's on each of us as council members. I think we all go through our own process of balancing public policy choices with neighborhood input. And I don't, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but that's just my observation. So I do want to make clear, though, that the fear that you articulated is misplaced in this moment, because that's not what the legislation puts forth. And I think that's additional fodder for moving this to next year, so we can have time together as a committee to discuss it in full, now that it's come back to us from both MPUs as well as the ZRB, which has voted to approve it. So I'll stop there. I know we have a motion to file before us, a substitute motion, and I want to follow proper protocol.
Chair,
yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we will have to dispose of the motion to hold first. That takes precedent over any other action that can be taken on the paper. So if we can dispose of that motion first.
Thank you for the clarification, Ms. Lindo. So we do have a motion to hold. I made the motion. I believe it was Boone who seconded it. It's been a minute now that we took that initial motion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you please open the vote on that?
One moment. The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
No.
One moment. Will everyone please vote? I think our system is frozen. One moment. Mr. Chair, I think the system is frozen. Perhaps we can
my screen has the votes posted, but obviously me reading it off does not, there's a conflict there. So if you want to do a voice vote, we can do that, whatever's appropriate.
Oh, okay. You're seeing it. I'm not able to see it, but it's 2 yeas, 4 nays, so that motion fails.
That's not what I have on my screen. Let me see here. Maybe. Yeah, that's not what I have on my screen, but I have a 5-1 for the motion to hold.
Yes, something. Perhaps we take a voice vote just for the public.
I think that's best, please.
Yes. Councilmember Faroki?
Yes.
Councilmember Shook?
Nay.
Councilmember Overstreet?
Nay.
Councilmember Smith?
Nay.
Councilmember Winslow?
No.
Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 2 yeas, 4 nays. That motion fails.
Okay. Disappointing. Certainly, we'll turn around and reintroduce these at the top of the year, but I suppose, Mr. Shook, would you like to reintroduce your motion?
Yes. Yeah, my motion is to file, and I am a little puzzled procedurally. Didn't want to drag this vote out, but since when can substitute motions be made in zoning committee? That's a question, that maybe we'll get answered at some point. But anyway, that's my motion.
Is there a second from the body?
That's to file, is that correct?
That's correct, Ms. Winslow.
Yeah, second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is closed. That's 4 yeas, 2 nays. That item will be filed.
Wait a minute.
That's not right. Yeah.
Now, hold on.
Okay, we may be having some
my last vote.
problems. We'll be having some. It looks like there's been some issues with the system. We will redo this vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think it's. I see Ms. Overstreet would like to speak, but after Ms. Overstreet speaks, barring no other comments from the committee, I'd like to just recommend we do a voice vote because this feels like there's something getting lost in technology here.
Yes, I was going to say that we hadn't voted on the file yet, but yes. I was also going to speak to my vote in that I would like for us to hold a work session before this type of intricate landscape changing, a change to the CDP. I think that we need to have a work session before the legislation is crafted. So open to that January because this type of legislation does give the appearance of negating the system that we already have in place for single family home zoning and other measures that are actually in the paper. So, regardless of what thoughts are about the intricate details and what it actually means, it also needs to be very clear to the constituents, and everyone needs to weigh in on it before this type of landscape changing, CDP altering legislation is approved. So I would like to work session first, and that's what my vote is about.
Thank you, Ms. Overstreet. I think it's appropriate for legislation to be introduced prior to work sessions, is often the case, but I hear you on wanting to have a council conversation and work session around these items. I think we'll look at these issues in 2022. And I'll say this in advance of the motion to file because it looks like the committee is leaning that way. I mean, I disagree vehemently with that, and I would say, these are hard issues, right? I mean, we are asking, when you ask an NPU to consider these issues, you're asking existing residents to make decisions about residents that don't yet exist, and so there's almost always a bias against more density, even if it's subtle. And this is played out in every city, nearly every city across the country. It has resulted in state Supreme Court rulings and in California that have rezoned property in California to a duplex. And the reason being is that when you allow existing residents to make those decisions, they're almost always behind where the demand is. And the demand in our city and in other cities in the Sun Belt and across the country exceeds housing supply. And so we have to figure out, in addition to building high rises on Peachtree and in Midtown and Buckhead and downtown and on corridors coming east and west out of the city, and around MARTA stations, we have to figure out how to add more housing. And that's housing, not just low-income affordable housing, but that's housing at every price point. That's housing, whether it's a $2 million single-family home or it's a $800,000 townhome or a $500,000 condo. Like there's demand up and down the income and cost scale. And when you add the supply to meet that, housing costs alleviate. But that requires us on council. And we may never get there, but this is I think a battle we have to have in a conversation we have to have. It requires those of us on council to think about the greater housing and economic ecosystem that we exist in, and neighborhoods have tremendously valuable input. And I know all of us on this committee and on this council seek it, and we weigh it heavily, but we also have to be smart enough to recognize that neighborhood and NPU input is but a slice of the input that is on any public policy issue. And I would encourage us as we continue to have these conversations, because these conversations aren't going away. These issues aren't going away. These potential solutions aren't going away. They'll be back before us the next calendar year in one form or fashion or another. But we have an obligation as a city to find ways to house more people. It is an enormous privilege to lay your head down in the city of Atlanta every night. And it's a privilege because not everyone who wants to sleep in a home in this city can do so. And we could choose theoretically to say, okay, nobody else, or only certain types of housing. There's all different types of iterations we can take in zoning policy and policy making. But when we make those choices, we either help or hinder whether we're going to be competitive economically, whether we're choosing inclusion over exclusion. Today, by just even filing this, we're saying we're choosing exclusion over inclusion. And that you may find that harsh, but that's fundamentally what we're doing. We're saying no. We don't want to see a basement apartment. We don't even want to have that conversation in January. We want to file it, right? We don't even want to talk about whether a 100-unit apartment building really needs 150 spaces when it could probably do with 100 spaces. This is what we're saying today. And so I certainly disappointed in the decision to file, or the pending vote here to file. We haven't voted on it yet. But I would ask committee members to reconsider their position on that, because there is not a city in the country that
hello
has been as hello, Ms. Winslow. I think you need to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm going to stop talking here in a second. I'll stop there. I think we have a lot of work to do as policymakers to help our city live up to its obligation to ensure the market can build the housing it needs to build while retaining what makes all of our neighborhoods special. All of the neighborhoods we live in across the city, they all look a lot different than they do today before we moved in as individuals. And they're going to look a lot different than they do today, 20 years from now, and 50 years from now. And some of that change will be subtle, some of it will be significant. But we live in a city. We don't live in a country club. And so we have to figure out how do we add more folks to the city while protecting what makes our city special. And adding more neighbors does not make our city any less special. So I'll stop there. I know, Ms. Overstreet, I believe you had your hand raised. And if there are no more comments after that, we'll move to the vote.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just, that's exactly why we need a work session first, because I don't agree with half of what you said. My vote certainly isn't an exclusion vote. For sure it's not. It is, where I only want certain people in the country club of Atlanta. I don't feel like that at all, like not at all. But I do feel like we have these protective measures around single family home zoning for a reason, and we have the process. So in order to change that, I also don't assume that people don't know what they need and what they like, as you just stated. I don't believe that. I also wouldn't assume that, Councilmember Winslow hadn't read the legislation, so therefore she's missing something. I don't assume those things. And that's why I think that we should have a work session first. So I will be supporting to file so that we can bring this back around in a way that is inclusive of people's thoughts and processes or thoughts and wishes across the whole city. And remove the angst, especially right now. So that's what my vote is about. It's definitely inclusive and not exclusive.
Thank you, Ms. Overstreet.
And Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, since your comments were directed at me, what I said earlier is that, we have to help developers also look at more development in Southwest Atlanta along our major corridors. We have spent a lot of time around issues around the Beltline with encouraging developers to come along the commercial nodes, which would be great activity, around our MARTA stations, which would be great activity for 4 and 5 story density. So residents in the area understand they want more density. They understand that the other part of the driver to density is rooftops, and then you get better retail. So they're not fighting it; they want it. But I'm in agreement with Councilmember Overstreet. We need to have a work session so we have a good understanding of it. And like I said, the residents in District 4 have put together a land trust. They didn't put it together; it was already there. But they're having multifamily. I think it's going to be 41 or 42 units right around some single family housing. So it's going to be great. So I think that speaks to a lot of what this paper is talking about. It just may be going in a different way, and it's going to be some affordable housing in there. So I don't think any of us are against the idea of this legislation. I think we just need to have a better understanding of it. We need to work it out so that neighborhoods feel as though their investments are protected, and that when they get to the table on developments that come in, that they're going to be listened to and heard.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Barring any other comments from the body before we move to the vote here? And I agree completely. A work session is appropriate. To have one, we'll have to have some legislation before us. So we'll tackle this again fresh in 2022. But barring no other comments, please open the vote.
Mr. Chair, did you want to do a voice vote on this one, or do you want to refer to?
If let's be safe and avoid confusion and do a voice vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Faroki?
Nay.
Councilmember Winslow? What's this? Councilmember Winslow?
In favor.
Councilmember Shook?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet?
Affirmative.
Mr. Chair, that's one nay or, I'm sorry, that's 5 yeas, 1 nay. That item will be filed.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lindo. Ms. Holmes, next item.
Item number 17, 20-1424, Z-2043, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Al-Faroqi to authorize the removal of 5 privately owned billboard faces and their supporting structures, permitted under Part 16, Chapter 28A of the 1982 zoning ordinance of the City of Atlanta, as amended in exchange for the right given to their owners to upgrade and or relocate 5 billboards, where the upgrade and exchange may allow for the creation of the 14th Street Linear Park in the Peachtree Creek at Cheshire Bridge Road environmental project after the 5 privately owned sets of billboard faces and the supporting structures of relocated billboards are removed and for other purposes. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation denial.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. I believe this is my paper. This is a 2-year saga, or almost 2 years. It was a pre-COVID paper. Excuse me. The first thing I'd like to do before full discussion on it is to amend the paper to attach a number of exhibits. Can I move to do so, and could I get a second?
Sure.
Second, Overstreet.
Thank you. Mr. Shook is the second. If we please open the vote to amend.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed at 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item's been amended.
Thank you, Ms. Lindo. My next motion is to approve this item. I believe most folks on the committee are familiar with it, but it has changed over time. It used to span kind of Buckhead to Midtown to downtown, and is trying to allocate and reallocate some billboards. Now it simply removes a handful of billboards at 14th and Peachtree Bridge, kind of where the connector is at 14th Street, to allow for a small linear park as new development has gone up. At the same time, it removes 17 smaller billboards throughout the city and mostly downtown area, and relocating some billboards in the downtown Sweet Auburn community right up adjacent to the expressway as well. And so my motion is to approve. It's a kind of value add when you look at ultimately removing billboards in the city. I know there's varying opinions on this paper, but I think this is the right move. Given all the moving parts, it's a positive step forward for addition of green space as well as a reduction of billboards. So I will move to approve and would appreciate a second if there's one in the body. Is there a second?
Second, Winslow.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable as amended.
Mr. Chair, if I could say items 18 through 21 together. Item number 18, 21-00496, U2113, an ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for a park for hire surface parking lot pursuant to 1634-0071L for property located at 765 Moreland Avenue. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation denial. Item number 19, 21-00497, U2114, an ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for a park for hire surface parking lot pursuant to 1634-0071L for property located at 1039 Grand Street Southeast. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation denial. Item number 20, 21-00498, U2115, an ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for outdoor displays or sales areas pursuant to 1611-0051L for property located at 876 Boulder Crest Drive Southeast. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation denial. And item number 21, 21-00499, U2116, an amended ordinance by zoning committee for a special use permit for a park for hire facility pursuant to 1632-0071I for property located at 532 Joseph Avenue. Staff, NPU, and DRB recommendation denial.
Okay, I will move to adverse. Can I get a second?
I'll second it. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote's closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. Those items have been adversed.
Item number 22, 21-00682, Z2185, an ordinance by zoning committee to amend the 1982 Atlanta zoning ordinance as amended by creating a definition of a short-term rental and to allow a short-term rental as its use in certain zoning districts and for other purposes. Staff recommendation approval, NPU and ZRB recommendation denial.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. I believe there's been one proposed amendment on my side, and that was shared with the committee. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. That was emailed to everyone this morning.
Yeah, and just so the committee is aware for consideration and discussion, the proposed amendment would allow ADUs to be used as an STR so long as the primary property owner lives on the property, so that there's a full-time property owner on the property. If folks need the actual wording amendment, it's in your inbox. If you'd like me to read it, I can dig it up, but I will, in the meantime, move to approve and ask for a second.
Mr. Carroll, this will be to bring the amendment forward. I apologize.
Yes, I'm sorry. I moved to bring the amendment forward.
This is Smith, did you put the part in there about if they have a change in status and they don't own the home anymore, they have to notify the city and they'll remove the certification?
Thank you, Ms. Smith. So I did discuss this with the law department. Their recommendation is that that type of requirement would be more appropriate in an amendment to the licensing short-term rental ordinance that's already on the books. And so I'm happy to tackle that first meeting of 2022, so that we amend it so that's the case.
Okay, so
we have time to do that. Just as a reminder that ordinance does not take effect until March 1, 2022. Mm-hmm. So we have time to amend it to put in that requirement beforehand, and I will take that on my shoulders personally to move that forward.
Okay, if you're going to do that, then I'll second your motion.
Yeah, you have my word. I promise we'll get it done.
Thank you.
So we have a second to amend the paper as described. I think the vote is open. Oh, please open the vote.
Yes, the vote is open, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas. I'm sorry. Wait, one moment. That's 5 yeas, 1 nay. That item has been amended.
Thank you. I guess the next motion, barring no other amendments to the paper, would be to approve. Can I get a second?
Second, Winslow.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. The vote is closed. That's 5 yeas, 1 nay. That I am favorable as amended.
Thank you. Next item is on.
Item number 23, 21-00786, Z2193, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single-family residential to Westview Neighborhood Commercial District for property located at 1411 South Gordon Street. Staff and ZRB recommendation denial, NPU recommendation approval, and the request is to hold this item, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. So moved. Can I get a second?
Move to hold. Move to hold.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Please open the vote, Ms. Linda.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Will everyone please vote? Mr. Schiff?
Sorry.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item will be held.
Item number 24, 21-00787-Z2195, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single-family residential to single-family residential for property located at 2229 Bicknell Street, Southwest. Staff, NCU, and DRB recommendation denial.
Great. So moved. Motion to deny. Can I get a second?
Overstreet, second.
Thank you, Ms. Overstreet. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote?
Winslow's in favor.
The vote's closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been adversed.
Item number 25, 21-00728-B2182, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single-family residential to multi-family residential for property located at 28257 Oak Cliff Road Northwest. Staff and DRB recommendation denial. MP recommendation approval conditional. The recommendation is to hold.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. So moved. Motion to hold. Can I get a second?
Second, Boone.
Thank you, Ms. Boone. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair.
Shook votes aye.
Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item will be held.
Item number 26, 21-00484-Z2147, an ordinance by zoning committee to rezone from single-family residential to residential general sector 2 for property located at 1818 Lakewood Avenue. Staff is DRB recommendation to file. MP recommendation, no recommendation.
Motion to file by Faroki. Can I get a second?
Overstreet, second.
Thank you, Ms. Overstreet. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
It's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item will be filed.
Item number 27, 21-00952, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Al-Faroki to waive Atlanta City Code Section 1508005 and any other applicable provisions of the subdivision ordinance of the City of Atlanta for the purpose of allowing the city to recognize 801 Durant Place as a legal non-conforming lot of record and to recognize 803 and 805 Durant Place as a legal non-conforming lot of record and to waive Atlanta City Code Section 1607007 and any other applicable provisions of the zoning ordinance of the City of Atlanta for the purpose of allowing the Department of City Planning to recognize a zero lot line development at 803 and 805 Durant Place and for other purposes.
Great, I will move to approve. Could I get a second?
I'll second Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Lindo, please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable.
Mr. Chair, the next item requires a substitute.
Do we need to vote on bringing forth the substitute?
Yes, sir.
Then I will move to do so. Could I get a second?
I'll second Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
The vote is open. Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
Item number 28, 21-00960, an ordinance by Councilmember Jennifer N. Odd as substituted by Zoning Committee to extend the moratorium on the acceptance of any business license applications or for any zoning or building permit applications for new parking structures and lots for parcel zone Cheshire Bridge Road North Neighborhood Commercial District or Cheshire Bridge Road South Neighborhood Commercial District established pursuant to Ordinance 21-00436 and for other purposes.
Great. Motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second, Winslow.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable on substitute.
And the last item, Mr. Chair, is item number 31, 21-00729, Z2184, an amended ordinance by Zoning Committee to rezone from single-family residential to office institutional conditional for property located at 1845, 1785, 1791, 1795, 1799, 1803, 1809, 1815, 1821, 1825, 1831, and 1837 Haygood Drive, 1854, 1848, and 1931 North Decatur Road, 1945, 1949, 1955, 1959, 65, 71, 77, 81, 87, 2001, and 2005 Ridgewood Drive Northeast. Staff recommendation, MPD recommendation, and DRB recommendation, approval conditional.
Great. I will move to approve. Can I get a second?
Second, Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Please open the vote.
The vote is open, Mr. Chair. Ms. Winslow?
Okay.
In favor.
Councilmember Boone?
Yes.
The vote is closed. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item will be favorable as amended.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Lindo. And that brings us to the end of our agenda today. I do want to extend the Thanksgiving weekend one day to extend a big thank you. And I'm sure the committee can voice their approval or echo their thanks to you, Ms. Lindo, for staffing this committee with such excellence, and to Ms. Holmes for always being the zoning expert and guiding hand on the call. Our meetings are typically very efficient and quick, in part because of rules that direct public comment to the ZRB public hearing. But a lot of that's also due to the hard work of Ms. Lindo and Ms. Holmes and making sure that we're up to date and we're ready to tackle these meetings. So I want to extend a big thank you to each of you for all your work this year in helping the zoning committee move through a lot of work. And to the committee members, I know we have not been together in person at all this year, and we have been on the phone in these meetings, and hopefully soon we'll be back together in person. But want to extend my thanks to all of you for always being present and participating and being thoughtful. And while today may have been our spiciest and most divided meeting when it came to a couple of issues, it's an honor to serve with y'all and appreciate the thoughtfulness and deference we give to each other in these moments. So a big thank you as we move toward our final full council meeting of the year. And I'll stop there and see if there's any comments, announcements as we wrap up our final zoning committee meeting of the year.
Shook totally seconds.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Shook. All right. Well, we are at the end of our agenda. Before we leave, I also want to, I should have said this also in my remarks, and I'll be brief because I know Mr. Shook likes our meetings being quick as well. But Ms. Smith, who served prior to me as chair of this committee, I know Mr. Shook has served as chair of this committee as well, but I want to acknowledge Ms. Smith for her many years of leadership, one on zoning, but two as a council member for District 1. As her tenure draws to a close, I think we'll look back and with a feeling of luck that we were able to serve with you, because you've been a terrific counsel to me and a wonderful colleague, I know, to all of us. And so I just want to thank you for your service and just say how appreciative I am that I've been able to serve with you. Small anecdote, in the summer of 1996, I interned with then council member Doug Alexander. Carla at the time, Councilmember Smith at the time, was a staff member for Vern McCarty. Is that right? Am I getting this right? I was so young.
What story are you going to tell?
No, but when I joined, when I ran for council in 2009 and then again in 2017, the one thing Carla remembered about me, she said, Amir, I just remember you have really neat handwriting. So this goes to not only her attention to detail and memory, but the fact that she's been a leader in the city and at City Hall for a long time. So I want to thank Carla for her really remarkable lifetime of leadership in the city of Atlanta.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I've enjoyed every minute of it, almost. All right, with all that, can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you may. Thank you,
all right.
Ms. Smith. Yeah.
All right. Motion
adjourned.
Motion to adjourn. All right, with all that, can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you may. Thank you,
all right.
Ms.